Hey, howdy y'all. It's time for some bourbon butterscotch oatmeal cookies. Now the first thing I had to do was go ahead and put 1 cup of pecans in the oven and get those toasted up a bit and then let them cool so that we can get those chopped up. So a good coarse chopping on that cup of pecans. Okay, that's starting to look about right. So we're gonna sit this aside and start getting all of our other ingredients put together. Okay, as you can see, I have already put 2 sticks of unsalted butter in my mixer bowl, and I wanted to make sure that those got to room temperature. Now we're going to put these dry ingredients together in a separate bowl. We needed 1 teaspoon of baking soda, 1 teaspoon of baking powder, and then we are also going to need, and I'm putting this through a sifter because some of these things get a little bit chunky at times, probably in my area because of the humidity. But then we're going to also add in 2 teaspoons of cornstarch. So we're going to get that in here, and we're going to basically sift that through with our flour and just get all those little pieces nice and broken up. Okay, so we're also going to need to get our flour in here. I'm using unbleached all-purpose flour, and we need 2 cups of flour sifted in. Y'all, this is one of the easiest recipes for being so delicious. And it gave a good run for the money on the cookies that I made the other day, the salted caramel ones. When I sent these up to the fire department with my husband, they were kind of voting on their favorites, and it was a very close call between the salted caramel one and this bourbon butterscotch cookies. But they're so easy. Seriously, these are so easy and so delicious. So let's get all those dry ingredients sifted through, and then after we get that sifted through, we're also going to add in here 1 teaspoon of salt. Okay, we've got that salt in there. Let's just whisk these dry things together real quick, and we're just going to set that aside for a few minutes. Okay, so we've got that 2 sticks of unsalted butter, which is 1 cup, and then we're going to go ahead and with the paddle attachment start whipping that butter, and to the butter we're going to go ahead and add our sugars. We're going to need 1 cup of brown sugar, so let's get that in here. And also we're going to need to add our granulated sugar to this butter mixture, and that's going to be about a 1/2 cup of granulated sugar. Okay, now let's get this mixer going, and I might have to scrape this down. We'll see how it goes, but we're definitely going to want to get this going for a good 5 to 8 minutes, and we want to get this really good and light and fluffy with our butter and sugar. Okay, so I bumped that speed up a bit. It is going to take about 5, 6, 7 minutes. You'll see it's starting to get light and fluffy over here. So while we've got that going, I'm going to go ahead and add in oats. We needed to add in some oats to our dry ingredients. You're going to need 2 cups of rolled oats. You don't want to use the instant kind, just your regular old-fashioned rolled oats. And we're just going to stir that into our dry ingredients. Okay, our butter sugar mixture is looking good and fluffy, so we're going to go ahead and get a couple of eggs cracked into here. I cracked them into a bowl. We're going to start whipping those into the butter sugar mixture. I'm just going to kind of drop one at a time, let it mix in here a bit, and then we'll get that other one dropped in, put it back on medium, and get it good and mixed in. Okay, let's slow that down. It's looking like it's mixed in pretty good. We need to add 1 teaspoon of vanilla. And then here comes that extra added yummy flavor. And it just gives a little bit of a vanilla caramel. You know, some people don't know why I add bourbon to a lot of things. It's kind of like adding vanilla. But with bourbon, you get that vanilla-ish caramelly flavor, and depending on what type of bourbon you're using, you can also impart a few other flavors depending on how long it aged, whether it's smoky or peaty or any of that. But for most of our desserty ones, we want that vanilla caramel. So we're going to kind of bump this up, get that whipped into there very good, and then we're going to start adding those dry ingredients in. Okay, first I'm going to scrape the sides down a bit, make sure we're going to get all of our butter sugar down in there, and then we'll get these dry ingredients, the flour and oats and all of that dropped in. So usually I would use the whisk attachment, but when we got the oats added in with that flour, I'm noticing it just is really getting thick and a little bit much for my little mixer, so I go ahead and put that paddle attachment on there, and it takes a little bit longer for the butter sugar to whip together, but then I don't have to do the whole switching it back and forth and cleaning up another mess, you know. So let's get these dry ingredients mixed up in here, and it doesn't have to really get crazy. You don't want to overwork it, but just until the dry gets incorporated into that butter sugar mixture. Okay, y'all, make sure those pecans that we've gotten chopped up are really completely cooled off. You don't want to drop hot pecans in here because they will melt your butter and kind of break things up. So let's drop those chopped up pecans in here. Y'all, I'm getting down to just a little bit of pecans left after getting some of these Christmas cookies going. But I've been pretty spoiled the last couple of years with my sweet friend Jen Ben. She gets them with her mother-in-law, I'm not sure where, but they have been amazing, and I've had several pounds in the freezer. So I've been using those up. Sure gonna miss getting those from her. My sweet friend passed away several months ago, but it's all the little things that just kind of bring in those memories of someone you loved. All right, let's get these butterscotch chips in here. We're gonna need to put in 1 cup of butterscotch chips. My husband loves butterscotch, so he's gonna be real happy about these cookies. Okay, so just pop it on and give it just a couple of turns, or at that point you could go ahead and just mix the pecans and butterscotch chips by hand and just kind of fold them in, but just a couple of turns so that it doesn't get overworked. Now, depending on how soft your butter was and how warm your kitchen is, just you'll need to gauge that. But we don't want the butter to be too melty, so You want to be able to kind of roll it in a ball. So if it is a little too soft, just pop that in the fridge for a little bit. Okay, after 30 minutes in the fridge, rolled them into balls. Got my oven on 350. Let's get them baked. Okay, I baked mine at 350 for about 13 minutes. Now that'll just, depending on how crunchy you like them. And then if you want them to spread out more, of course, you could kind of smash those balls down just a bit. But they smell so good. And I let them sit on that stone for just a couple of minutes before I started pulling them off and putting them on a cooling rack. So there you go. We've got some bourbon butterscotch oatmeal cookies. I sure hope you'll give this recipe a try. Thanks for hanging out with me, and y'all have a good one and a Merry Christmas.